My composition that Choral Chameleon is singing in this concert set, the composer was commissioned by the Walden Composer School in New Hampshire. This is a school for young composers aged 10 to 18. This was for an anniversary, I believe it was their 30th. And since it's a composer's school, I actually asked a poet friend of mine with whom I've written 11 works, who sadly passed away in 2011, John Sterling Walker, to write me a poem about composing. So the fact is that my own attitude toward composing is very much similar to what Stravinsky said about when someone said, well, how did you come to compose the Rite of Spring? And he said, I did not compose the rite, I was the vessel through which the Rite of Spring passed. Meaning that composing comes for me from a spiritual impulse, and I am the vessel, the channel, to transmit the message. And so I asked my friend to write a poem along those lines, and this is very much his experience of, this is where music comes from. So the poem is about the muse of inspiration. Every piece that I write with a text, the question is always who is speaking and to whom, and the poem itself has its own music, it has its own energy curve, it has its own character, it hangs in the air as a series of words, one following the other, just like a composition is a series of notes, of pitches and durations, one following another in time, unfolding. So the poem states, in restless moments or in quiet, when the feel or thought draw near, and though the muse's will deny it, comes him music loud and clear. So the poem has a tone, an older tone of language. The construction comes him music is not a construction that is in modern use. This, I think, places the tone of the poem kind of outside of time, or across the centuries, you might say, and I was going for that in my music. So in order to impose a kind of structure on the poem that didn't exist, I took the liberty of beginning the poem simply with the word music, oh music, and then throughout the course of the poem repeating that word, which is in a way representing the composer who's receiving the spiritual impulse of music, actually addressing music or naming it or locating it. And so in this way I could create a kind of almost, ritornello structure where the word music comes back 3 or 4 times, and it begins and ends the composition. And it's such a beautiful word, music, and I tried to set it as reverently as possible.